Okay, we are going to be reviewing for our snapshot that we're getting ready to take, and we are going to be talking about when problems ask you to completely factor or to find a binomial in a problem. Now, the first thing that you would do is we type our quadratic into Desmos, and then we're going to find our zeros. So that's really the first step. So your first step to completely factoring or finding binomials is to find your zeros. The next thing you do is flip your zeros to get your factors, and then you find your GCF. So let's type this problem in Desmos right here. Okay, so I've got 8x squared minus 4x minus 24. The first step was to find my zeros, so my zeros are negative 1.5 and 2. Okay, but I know that I can't use a decimal for that, so I have to change my decimal to a fraction. And I do that by changing it, so it's negative 3 over 2. Okay, so my zeros were 2 and negative 1.5, and that changed to negative 3 over 2. To find my factors, I have to flip it. So the opposite of positive 2, I now have x minus 2, and the opposite of negative 3 over 2 is now plus 3 over 2. But when I have a fraction here, I have to move my denominator in front of my x, so this is going to turn into 2x plus 3. The last step that we need to do is find our GCF, and by doing this, we multiply our numbers in front of our x. So here is a 1, and over here is my 2. So 2 times 1 is 2, okay? And I take this number and have it divided by my a. My a is the number that's attached to the x squared. So this is going to look like 8 divided by 2. Oh my goodness. It should not be 2. It should be 4. Sorry about that. So my GCF is actually 4. So my final problem has to look like this. There are 3 parts to this problem. Okay? All right, let's take a look at the next thing. So when I'm looking at Desmos and at my graph, and I see that my solutions, my roots, my zeros, that on here it's negative 6 and 3. So negative 6 and 3 are called my solutions, my roots, or my zeros. Let's see if I can, or my zeros. Okay. And if it asks you to find the binomials or the factors, you just take the opposite. So the opposite of negative 6, I have x plus 6. The opposite of positive 3, I have x minus 3. So this one says, what are the solutions to the quadratic equation? Round your answer if needed. So the first thing I need to do is I need to go type this in Desmos. Okay. So the problem was negative 2x squared minus x equals negative 8. But this is not how I type in this problem. I need to move this negative 8 down here. So I have y equals negative 8. Okay, and I want you to sketch on your graph, on your paper, this quadratic with the line crossing through at negative 8. So sketch this image on your graph. Now I need to find my zeros. So my zeros are negative 2.266 and 1.766. Okay, so I can type that in right here. It was negative 2.266 and 1.766. Okay, but it's going to say, hey, which one of these could represent your solution? So what I would have to do is type this in Desmos and see what it equals as a decimal and see if it's one of those. So we're going to go to Desmos, and I'm going to type in 1 minus the square root of 65 over 4, and that equals negative 1.765, but I know it needs to either equal negative 2.2 or positive 1.7. So this could not be answered. Let's type in the next answer choice. It was negative 1 minus the square root of 65 over 4, and I can see that this equals one of my solutions. Okay, so this could be my answer as one of my solutions. All right. Let's take, okay, so on your paper what you would do is write what this was as a decimal, and write what this was as a decimal, and circle this one because this is the one that matched my solution. All right, next one. So parallel lines have the same slope, okay? And this problem says, what is the slope of a line parallel to the line 2/3x plus 4, and it goes through the point 3,8. So when I type this in Desmos, I need to type in y equals whatever my slope is, x plus b. I add my slider and I type in the point. So let's go to Desmos and see what that would look like. So my slope was, what was it? 2/3. So I'm going to have the same slope. Y equals 2/3x. I don't know the y-intercept of this new line. That's what I'm trying to figure out. So I type in plus b. I add my slider and I type in the point that it went through. It went through 3,8. So 3,8. Okay. I find it on here somewhere. Here it is. And I move my slider. So my new equation would be y equals 2/3x plus 6, because it tells me my y-intercept is 6, and this was my slope. So make sure you get this on your notes. Okay, flip over to the back. I know that my domains are my x values. So in this set of points, my domains are 2, 4, and 6. The other thing you need to know for your test is that this is a positive slope, and this over here is a negative slope. Okay, the next thing you need to sketch down is what one solution looks like. This is one solution. This is one solution because the lines intersect one time. This is what one solution looks like. This is no solution. So parallel lines will never touch each other, so it's no solution because they're not going to cross. This line right here, it looks like just one line, but there's actually two. These lines are laying on top of each other, and they're touching each other an infinite amount of times. This is infinite solutions. Okay. This quadratic is touching my x-intercept one time, so it has 1 0 or 1 root or 1 solution. This one is touching my x-axis twice, so there are 2 zeros or 2 roots or 2 solutions. This one's only touching it once, so it's 1 0 root or solution. And this one never touches my x-intercept, my x-axis. So it is no zeros, no roots, or no solutions. All right, the next problem we have, John, he's buying pizza for $10, and each drink he buys is $4. His total was $32, and how many drinks could he buy? So I would have to go to Desmos, and I would type in, okay, so he has, I need to make an equation. He bought pizza, and he bought drinks, right? But I don't know how many drinks he bought, so I need to put my x beside it, because it's asking me to figure out how many drinks he had. And it equaled $32. So I go to Desmos, and I type this in. So I have y equals 10x plus 4. Whoops, that's wrong. Y equals 10 plus 4x, and then y equals 32. And what I want you to sketch on your graph or on your paper, the lines are already there, that this has one solution. And my solution is 5.5 and 32, but I know my answer is my x value. So this is saying I could buy 5.5 drinks. I know that's not a thing. So what I would do is round down and say I could buy 5 drinks total. All right, next one. 6 less than 3, twice the square of x. Whoops. This doesn't look like the problem. Let me change this. So this is what your problem should look like on your paper. 6 less than twice the square of a number x is y. And I have to be able to type this into Desmos. This is giving me math in words. I need it as math in numbers. About to run out of time. So this looks like this 6 less than, I know minus 6 has to go in the back because of less than, and twice the square of a number. So this is x squared, and twice the square of a number. You type this into Desmos. You go to your table and you type these numbers in your table, but on your paper it says -1, 0, 1, and 2. All right, and then you would go to Desmos, type in those numbers, and type what you see beside it.